Hello guys, my name's Jim and welcome back to My Movie Obsession, a place for film obsessives and geeky movie fans, and it's time to discuss Terminator Dark Fate, a movie which I've kind of been deliberating since I actually saw it 24 hours ago, over 24 hours. So I haven't been able to sit down and do the video, and I kind of feel like just doing it in this kind of podcast format, just a stream of consciousness, because it is a movie that frazzles your mind, or at least did mine. So of course this movie has had a strange journey, to the big screen. Obviously James Cameron came back to the franchise, Tim Miller was promoting the movie, having a go at some fans online, not doing what you should do and not learning from the attacking the fan base that hasn't worked with Star Wars, hasn't worked with, Ghostbusters and all that. So it didn't get off to the best start. The trailers sucked, so it was actually a pleasant surprise in a way that this movie wasn't god awful. Now there are god awful points, and I will go into spoilers when I want to talk about them. Some absolutely disgraceful moments, just absolute shambolic. But all in all, it's the best Terminator sequel, and it's not saying much. It really isn't. But in some ways it's okay. In some ways, the more I think about it, the more I don't like it. But there are way worse Terminator sequels, of course. Like Terminator 3, I'd rather watch Ernest Rides Again. It's an absolutely shameful film. So there are worse movies than Terminator Dark Fate. But let's get into some of the good parts of it. So Linda Hamilton is back, and she is awesome in the film. She really is. She completely fits right back into that Sarah Connor character. I don't like a lot of the things they did with her, but in a performance, Linda Hamilton's putting her heart into it. You can really, it's immediately Sarah Connor again. So that was really, really good. She sees the movie through in a lot of ways. I love her. She hits the same beats as the performance in T2 when she needs to be, and it wasn't deep enough. It wasn't deep enough. I mean, a lot of these characters in this film lack the heart and the soul of Terminator 2. But as a performance of Linda Hamilton, it was fun to see her kick some ass. It was fun to see her be Sarah. I'll get into some of the specifics later. Arnold Schwarzenegger was great in this, absolutely great. You could tell he actually cared about the material, other than, I don't feel like he cared that much in the other Terminator sequels. I feel like he's probably just coming back because they offered it to him. Whereas this one, he actually seems like he's putting the most effort into the Terminator performance. And I think Grace, played by Mackenzie Davies, who is the soldier, half human, half robot, which is very much Terminator Salvation. Don't joke around here. That was Terminator Salvation, mate, with Sam Rockwell's character. So you're ripping off Terminator Salvation. In the words of Christian Bale, what don't you get about it? What don't you fucking understand? You are ripping off Salvation. That's what it feels like saying. But I really liked her, actually. I was expecting the movie. One thing I like about the movie, and this goes into Grace's performance, is it wasn't preachy. It wasn't about female. It wasn't about insulting men and this and that, and it was about female empowerment, which the original Terminator was, so I'm happy with that. It wasn't how Tim Miller seemed to approach it. If you actually look up articles, Tim Miller was insulting men for the whole lead up of this film. No idea why. No wonder the film failed, mate. Attacking the fan base. When's it ever worked? Absolute madness to decision. Tim Miller, absolute foolishly arrogant fire starter. That's how I describe him, right? Doing interviews, insulting men, saying that misogynists will hate this, and if they can't handle seeing women, misogynists, that's why this film will be hated. All these misogynists out there. No, mate. No. Get away from that. But anyways, Grace, played by Mackenzie Davies, I really liked how one of the elements of the film is that she has to keep getting injected and powered up, which gives the feeling in Terminator 2, remember, of Arnold being the underdog now, because he's way less of a effective Terminator than T-1000. So this positioned Grace as an underdog who had to keep running. So she wasn't necessarily a Terminator. She was half human, half robot, who had to keep injecting herself. So she was against the clock always. So it gave this movie a sense of pace. And this movie did have pace, and it wasn't boring. It was full of, I feel like, energy at times. And I feel like that was a unique idea. It kind of like that Jason Statham Crank idea, where you just got to keep injecting yourself to carry on. I feel like they could have done that a bit more with that, like with Grace. Maybe like, she has to inject herself to give her that adrenaline more and more and more, and it kind of gives the film this frantic pace. It did have it in certain moments, but you could have done more like the Jason Statham thing, where she just goes absolutely nuts with adrenaline. Maybe not have sex in public like Jason Statham does in Crank in broad daylight. But yeah, she was really good actually. You really believed that she cared about the woman she sent back to protect Danny. You really felt like she cared about her. You really felt that genuine empathy for her. I just feel like this movie, this goes along with Grace's performance. This movie never really builds a connection between all the characters. You look at Terminator 2, there was a real slow burn building of connection between, John and the Terminator and Sarah Connor, Sarah and her son. It was all about rebuilding bridges and belief in, in each other. That film was. It was a film about empathy. It's a film about everyone learning something, and I don't feel like these characters learned anything at all. Like, Mackenzie Davis Grace, she was just like, yes, the good guy she's going to protect, but that's it. She doesn't really learn anything about herself, or she doesn't really, it just isn't. It's kind of a hollow script, kind of an empty script in my opinion. It could have been better. I really felt there was the ingredients in here for something amazing. Honestly, do feel like that. Danny Ramos, played by Natalia Reyes, wasn't good. She was the weak link of the performances. I thought she was god awful, and she offended me. Not her fault. Her presence offended me, and we'll get into that when we go into spoilers. She was just very uncharismatic, very one note, nothing to her. You didn't know anything about her. You didn't know what she believed in, and it was just annoying to have her thrust into this position in the movie where she's not in a position to actually be in that. But I know they're trying to do the Sarah Connor type thing in Terminator, where she's not ready for this, but Linda Campbell had charisma back then. She had a twinkle in her eyes. She had beliefs. You knew about Sarah Connor. You grew some empathy. Whereas this Danny, I don't think you do. And I feel like her motivations come out of nowhere, and her sudden confidence comes out of nowhere, and all that stuff. It wasn't very well done, her character, to be honest. And they could have done a real good mother-daughter thing between Sarah and Danny, but there's nothing there. Mother-daughter as in treating her as a daughter. There's nothing there though. There's always just lines of dialogue in this that don't get taken anywhere. There's ideas that don't get taken anywhere, and it's trying to be subtle, the way that Terminator 2 was subtle, but there was so much underneath the surface in Terminator 2 that they're just not getting that. They're not converting that heart and soul that we all love from Terminator 2. There were some amazing action scenes, great pace, great chase movie pace. Ultimately, I liked Arnold, I liked the chase scene, I liked Linda, I liked certain scenes of it. I was entertained, I wasn't bored, but I was left empty, I was left hollow. And just before we forget, because I didn't put him on the liked performances, and I probably should, the guy who played the T-1000, or the Rev-9, Gabriel Luna, I thought he was pretty good. CGI was atrocious. Terminator looked like a tub of goo. Jim Carrey in the Truman Show says that's the whole ball of wax. That was how to describe him: a wax, glue, mess, chemical leakage. shameful. CGI is absolutely god-awful. It is some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in any movie ever. I'm dead serious on that. 2019, guys, 2019. Look at the CGI in Terminator 1991, do a scene-by-scene comparison, and see that this looks like Shredder's fucking goo. The Secret of the Ooze goo is what this Terminator looks like. Absolutely disgraceful, and it's a shame because the performance is pretty good. I like how he was, he had some lines of dialogue, and he was spooky, and he was mysterious, and he was using some sides of Terminator we've never seen. He was very manipulated, very able to blend in. Great stuff, yeah, I really like that. So I think I'm just going to go straight into spoilers. You know, this movie had some fun action scenes. It just didn't have heart, and it didn't feel complete, and it didn't captivate me. That's what it is. It didn't captivate me. It was just there, but it wasn't bad necessarily. You know, I think they were so preoccupied with actually being capable of making a Terminator movie that isn't a load of old arse, that they didn't actually do anything with it. You know, they just skated through trying to make it not terrible, but they forgot about actually making it great. So let's go into spoilers before we go too long on this. Of course, John Connor is killed in the first 30 seconds of the movie. John Connor in Terminator 2 is phenomenal. You know, and for all that to go downhill, to be said that it doesn't matter. You know, think of that ending of Terminator 2. Think of how meaningful. Think of how much went into the whole John Connor journey. And think, you know, and just to kill him off straight away. And for me to find out shortly after watching this, and I don't know if you guys know, but it was James Cameron's idea to kill John Connor off. You know, James Cameron, just absolute money grabber, absolute wet bandit. Truly atrocious man, James Cameron, with his, you know, you got no respect, mate. You've been in your blooming green screens too long, making movies that no one cares about for 45 years, trying to make an Avatar sequel. Actually respect what you've done, mate. And he was coming out and he was saying, you know, the reason we've done it was to subvert expectations so that you don't know what's going to happen. But you shouldn't be willing to sacrifice one of your greatest character creations just for the sake of shocking the audience. That shows that your creativity's gone, mate. Because you were about ideas, you were about emotions, you were about feelings, you were about characters. And for you to just suddenly become about shocking the audience, fair play to you, mate. What are you, fucking Andy Kaufman? What's going on with James Cameron? He's really gone down in my estimation, and he's a money grabber. You know, he said he loved Terminator Genesis, like some kind of Jim Carrey and the liar, like constantly lying before he gets. You know, I think we should have. I wish for just one day James Cameron couldn't tell a lie. Then we should do the wish, and then James Cameron gets that spell put on him, and we put him through the ringer, and we found out he actually didn't like any of them. Did you say it for money, mate? You know, the pen is blue. Like, he'd eventually say, yes, I said it for money, because I'm an arrogant money spinner. And guess what? There are very, very recent articles of James Cameron trying to distance himself from this. Because shit has hit the fan, mate. Maybe you shouldn't have killed off one of your most likeable characters, son. Like, John Connor is so likeable. Edward Furlong's performance in that movie you can see the future leader of the human race in a 12-year-old boy, but you can also see a 12-year-old boy. And you can just see that childlike innocence, but you can see what he went on to become. And he's written so well. He believes in... John's such a kind and believes in good. But he's still bratty. He's still a kid. He has all these elements to him. He has honour. He has guts. He has courage. He has edge. You know, he has everything. You know, and Edward Furlong, the charisma of that performance was incredible. You know, and James Cameron was running around in lead up to this film saying that Edward Furlong was going to physically be in this. And that's another thing, mate. You lied to get people in. You used their nostalgia. You hoard out your franchise to get people in the theatre. And you don't care about those people because you just want to kill... You killed the person you got them into the theatre to see. absolute jokester, absolute prankster, James Cameron. You know, everyone was saying Edward Furlong is physically in this movie, not CGI. So don't give me this spin. Like a politician, like Boris Johnson spinning his latest scandals. Like you're spinning, oh, we only said he's going to be in it, we didn't say physical. Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Brett. Yes, you did, James. You tried to fuck him. Like, that, you did say it, mate. So, admit it. And he won't admit it, and he'll distance himself. I can't believe they convinced me Edward Furlong was in this, and there was never any intention for him to be in it. It was just to get us in the theatre, because you knew no one would go. And James Cameron's gone on record, and he slated Alien 3 for killing Newt and Hicks in the first few minutes. Well, you've done exactly the same with John Connor, the saviour of humanity, mate. You can't just... what I love about this is they killed John Connor and there's just casually another saviour. No, the point is that John Connor was 1 in a million. He's not... Saviour of humanity isn't just some guy. You know, the saviour of humanity is the shock of... Wow, like Morpheus says in The Matrix, he's the one. Like, just the shock. What am I talking about? The Matrix. You know, why doesn't he run? He's the one. Like, we can use The Matrix as an analogy, not the sequels, obviously, but he's the one. You know, he's the saviour of humanity because he, you know, most people, when they knew that someone destroyed the world, and there were 12, you know, Miles Dyson, for example. This is an example from Terminator 2. Miles Dyson, we know he's going to destroy the world. So Sarah Connor says, I'm going to go around and kill him. John Connor is 12 years old, and he says, absolutely not. That's why he is the saviour of the human race. Because a lot of human beings would say, well, yeah, let's do it. But as Arnie says, killing Dyson might actually prevent the war. And Edward Furlong and James... Ed fucking frazzled. John says, I don't care. Like, he's so offended. You know, and that's what I like. This, John, you know, and when he runs in and stops Sarah shooting Miles Dyson, Sarah says, "You came here to stop me," like, and she looks at him and she realizes he's John Connor. Of course, he came here to stop me. That's what it is. It's a series about empathy, a series about believing in humanity. That's what it's about. This series. It's not just about anyone can take the mantle. It's about empathy shining through from this remarkable individual, you know, and you don't get that from Dani. She's boring. She's got no journey. She's got no edge. She's got no spark. She's got nothing to her. She's a blank slate, you know. So of course the Terminator, you know, went back and killed John, and then he went and hid out in the fucking hills with Audley Harrison, and then he went and lived in the woods like some kind of Bigfoot hunter, Arnie Bigfoot hunter. And then I like the fact that Arnie had that. You know, it's kind of I thought they were going to do like a Blade Runner 2049 sort of thing where they explored what it's like to, what it is to be human. You know, can you become human like that? That would have been good, but they didn't. They're just brief conversations. This isn't sci-fi. Sci-fi doesn't just point at things and say, look at that. You know, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? No, science fiction is about what if. It's about exploring what if. So what if a Terminator had a human life, you know, and tried to have a human life, but they don't explore it. They just mention it like in vague, like Chinese whispers. One scene of Arnie going, you know, I nursed him back to health. You know, you might as well just been doing your usual stick, Arnie. You know, when I came back to Terminator 3, it was all about the ass of the TX, and then when I came in, they said Schwarzenegger 53, but he's still got the ass. Like, you might as well just said that, because everything didn't amount to anything, so just go on about ass. You know, why does the Terminator stop as well? Why was he programmed just to kill John and then he hide out in the hills? Like, what? Why would Skynet do that? And also, why did Skynet send so many back and the Terminator 2 didn't know? Lame stuff. The lame idea, really lame idea that they'd sent back loads of Terminators to kill John. Like, one, you know, the time travel gets so much more convoluted. This series can't go on. And on, but they even say in the films that the time displacement chamber was destroyed. You can't just keep sending them back. But anyways, you know, the passion, the ideas, the heart is missing in this. And that's, you know, the depth is missing. There's some great action. There's some good interactions between Arnold and Linda. There is stuff here. There's a good pace. I really do take my hat off to the pace. I've got to mention it again. There is some good direction as well. I thought this was going to be Terminator Genisys done again when I found out, because Tim Miller was very much involved in Genisys, and I thought the trailers looked like Terminator Genisys. This is not Terminator Genisys. It feels like an actual film, whereas Terminator Genisys feels like some sort of sci-fi movie made by an absolute melter. Like, but this actually feels like a film. It feels like an actual film, and you can see the energy put into it, but they put it in the wrong areas. It's like they're trying to do the Terminator 1 and 2, but they don't realise what Terminator 1 and 2 actually did. Terminator 1 and 2 were about ideas, and there was action, crazy stuff thrown along the way, but it was about ideas, it was about empathy, it was about relationships, it was about humanity, it was about technology. You know, it's not about that in this. There isn't enough, you know, it's just... And as I said earlier, I feel like they were trying to... so preoccupied in trying to not make it terrible, they didn't make it good. So, you know, that's my opinion, guys. You know, it's not terrible, but Terminator 2 is actually my favourite film of all time. You know, I watched Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 back to back in the cinema recently, and that's when it made it. It was always high in my films, obviously, but that's when it made its way into #1 film of all time. I think it's an absolutely staggering piece of work. So that's why I'm so critical. But in terms of slaps to the face of the franchise, this is one of the most minor. It was a remake. It had nothing original to it. It had potential to be original, you know, if they had explored some of the Arnie stuff. And I wanted to see Linda, you know, Sarah, if they're going to kill John, have her kind of become obsessed with Danny and protecting Danny, as if she sees John in Danny. But you don't have that. You just really don't. You know, and it's the Force Awakens. They were trying to do that because of this nostalgia trend. But yeah, for 2019, a Terminator movie, it could have been a lot worse, a hell of a lot worse. In the words of Samuel L. Jackson in Jurassic Park, could have been worse, Jan. A lot worse. Like, it really could. There are good parts, but there are infuriating parts, and I will never accept killing John Connor, because John Connor was the glue of this whole franchise. You take John Connor away, you haven't really got the franchise. And just like they did in Force Awakens, the Empire was gone, but now we've got the First Order. Skynet's gone, but now we've got Legion. Just there you go. Which promotes the idea that nothing that happens matters, because it can always be replaced, and it will always be started again. Same with bringing back the Emperor in the new Star Wars film. You know, stop doing this, guys. Seriously, what do these studios think? What they're all bloody insane. They're all counting money and doing bongs. A lot of people liked it though, so if you liked it, let me know, and let me know why. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on John Connor dying, all this sort of stuff. Certain parts of the movie, could they have expanded on? Everything I've talked about, let's talk about it. So let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.